Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Untold Rollercoaster. So this session will be a little bit different than the other ones because we don't speak about success. We don't speak about the top 10 hacks, how you can scale your startup from zero to the billion company. We speak about the real raw stories behind entrepreneurship. At EO, we believe that all our experiences are the most valuable asset. Because if we are struggling or have problems, then we know that we have always a backup. So we believe that after a roller coaster, we come out with new perspectives, with character, and more skills. So in Switzerland, we don't speak open about the dark side of entrepreneurship. It's everything nice, it's so perfect here, but comparing to the US, it's completely the opposite. In the US, you don't get money if you don't fail 2 to 3 times. Because the investors, they want that you know how you invest the money of them wisely. So before we start, I want to dive in a short self-reflection. So please, all of you, think about 2 questions. First, what was the hardest time in your business? And second, what was the deepest low in your personal life? I give you some seconds to think about it. So keep them in mind, because later we will share it in the room. Not everybody individual. So, next to me, I have the amazing Wendy and the wonderful Baram. So Wendy will spend some words about EO. And after that, we dive into our personal stories. Then we have an interactive Q&A session. And then at the end, you need your questions.
So, exactly what is EO? EO stands for Entrepreneurs Organization, which is basically a worldwide association, nonprofit, that helps entrepreneurs. EO actually has more than 20,000 entrepreneurs in the entire planet. And when I come here and I see all of the companies that are out there, most of them are offering legal services, financial services, there's VCs, there's tech services, all of these things. But what does EO bring to the table? EO brings focusing on the entrepreneur. We actually want to talk to you and understand what's going on with you. We actually ask that question, how are you? And we listen. And we try to offer guidance. EO Zurich today is composed of 150 members. They are the top entrepreneurs in this country. And the groups, they cluster into smaller groups of potentially from 8 to 10. And in these groups, you meet once per month. And in this very private, very confidential, and very secure setting, we speak about what's going on in our personal lives. Our health, our nutrition, our struggles with alcohol, with diet, with exercising. And we also talk about what's going on in our personal life, from our family life, that it could be our husbands or our partners or relationship with our friends or who knows, with our neighbor. And we also talk about our business. Why was EO created? It was created actually because the story says that many years ago, there was a group of, I think it was 4 or 5 guys, and they used to meet, I think, once per year. And they would go out fishing or go drinking or just hang out. And then one year, one of them didn't show up. When they called their family to ask, like, where is this person? He had actually committed suicide. And this had happened because he was going through many psychological issues with his company, but he did not have somebody to speak about it with. And this is EO. EO creates a space where entrepreneurs can talk about what's going on with them, which can sometimes be a little bit lonely. And and you can exactly go to your girlfriend or boyfriend or friends and talk about, I'm having issues with this client who hasn't paid me 50,000, and your friends are like, what? It's not a problem. But as an entrepreneur, you understand, yeah, it's a huge problem. I can't pay rent, I can't pay salaries, I have debts, and my runway is going short. So if you want more information about EO, let us know, and we're going to continue with our panel. Thank you.
Hi again. I'm Tiano, like piano with T, EO member since 5 years, and since 2 years quite active in the board, and I'm leading the Accelerator program. And now I will share a story which I just shared the second time in my life. So I will share my crazy story, how I kissed the sky and then danced in hell. So who of you already heard about CBD cannabis? Okay, quite a lot. So just for your information, 8 years ago there was a big change in law in Switzerland that all narcotics with the THC level up to 1% were legal to cultivate, to produce, and to sell. So we were 3 friends. We saw, hey, there is an opportunity. We invested 40K in a really old house, filled every single room with lamps, and start to cultivate our own grow. So really like in the movies. After 3 months, we had our first harvest. And honestly, that was a really, really bad quality. Don't look nice, had special taste, but we were lucky, it was smokable. So we sold the whole batch in 4 days. And then we see, hey guys, there is a massive demand. And we start to set up a bigger production facility in Uttendorf, near from Thun. There we rent a 1,000 square meter facility. And we use those space so we can leverage our supply chain. And from there on, we also found out that a lot of clients in Switzerland and also in Europe start to be interested in those kind of products. So we expand from the smokables to oils, to extracts, and also to consumer products. So from there on, we said, okay guys, let's go to Europe. Because our chance was there, we had in Switzerland like a monopoly. So we could cultivate, they were allowed to sell it, but they couldn't cultivate. So I wrap it a little bit up. So we start really to ramp up our operations. So we had a production facility in Uruguay. We had operations with partners in Italy. We were grown in 4 years up to 40 employees in 5 different countries. And we used the whole white label distribution for our cash cow. So we could take this money to invest in our own brands. Because what we learned was which kind of products were working in which countries, in which industries. So we had really Europe as our playground. And the cool thing was we found the methodology, so we could take off the THC and found even a way to export to Japan from Taiwan. So like this we said, okay, the world is us. We are the princes and queens of the cannabis industry. We hit, after 4 years, completely bootstrapped with 40K, a revenue with 11 million, with B2B margins around 30 to 35%. And we said, okay, now we are the pioneers of the industry. Even some investors came and we said, no guys, we don't need you. Maybe in 2-3 years, let's talk then. But we were really naive optimists. And then we start a new year. There was also our head of sales, Roberto. Nice to see you. So we start the new year with a record and said, okay, we do easily 1.5x from last year. But then, mid of the year, the whole market collapsed. So the prices went down from 1,800 euros per kilo of CBD to 400 euros. So we had production costs around 1,000 euros in Switzerland, and even with our production from Uruguay, what we cultivated outdoor. We land in Cloton with air freights around 480 euros. So we woke up and found out, shit, what kind of monster we have built. Because, easy maths, we need to feed our people, our operations with minus margins. So this all happened because at the end of COVID, a lot of agriculture producers start to switch from their productions to CBD because they thought it's the new Bitcoin. For example, the biggest Christmas star producer, these red Christmas trees, I don't know if you know them, he switched his whole production to CBD. So there were so many tons on the market, and those guys, they didn't have any supply chain. They just dumped the prices that they can take something out to live. So, yeah, what do you do when you have 3 youngsters, around 50 to 60 people on your payroll, and you have no clue how you restructure the whole thing? So we start to calculate how much money we have left. We were hoping, hey, hopefully the prices go up. We tried to find some money, but at the end of COVID, it was really, really difficult to find money with banks. We were a scale-up, intercompany businesses, new trendy market, so not easy. The investors where we spoke before, they had their own issues. And then really the pressure starts. Because when you have so many people to feed and so a complex system with all the operations, you need to do hard decisions. And our problem was that we 3, as a trio, in the beginning also we were the 3 musketeers, we don't worked again because it was so much pressure. One of us didn't came back to the office, so it was just the 2 of us. And then I will never forget this day. I had to lay off 20 people in 2 days, physically and remotely. And I felt so guilty because in the beginning I was always, we are the pioneers, we're one family. And then some months later, the dreams were gone. And what we then did, and also through the help from EO, we did 3 big asset packages, sold them to competitors, and transferred the last of our employees to those companies. And then we liquidated all the companies. So it was not at all a picture book exit. And this can happen. And then suddenly all the lights were off. So no employees, no cool offices around the globe, no mission, what drives you, and then it was completely silent. And my problem also was I was the company. I asking myself who I am without the company. And to share there some of my learnings. So really, if you run a business, be really aware that pressure and money change everybody. Your brother, your best friend, your co-founder, and yourself. We were spending, when we were in the good times, we were spending crazy money. So we really was rock star life. But then, if the shit hits the van, it was so difficult that we can communicate under us. So also with your clients, with your partners, with your co-founders, have something in place that you have a common understanding. Then, really trust your gut feeling. Don't invest money in partners like marketing agencies, trust companies, or lawyers, because you really need to feel that they want to understand your business, they want to grow with you, and they are there like a SpongeBob. If you have the feeling they don't absorb or don't get your business, don't work with them. We had the problem because our complex business was growing really fast. We had to change 3 times trust companies. So that's a real pain. One other thing, what I can share is really take care of yourself. Even more in these challenging times. I didn't took holidays for 2 years. I was working around 14 hours every day, was the first person in the morning, the latest one in the afternoon, and I had the feeling I need to be there as a role model. But completely wrong. Fuck it. Really. Nobody at the end says thank you. From those 60 people, at the end there were 2 guys. We were also paying bonuses, tried to rescue everything. Nobody say thank you that you don't take holidays. So now I'm back in the driver's seat. I like to love those holidays. And I think it's not easy as an entrepreneur. Last thing, and then I have my closing. So build up your businesses like really adaptive and flexible systems. And really think about what you need to do by your own and what you can give external. Try to go outside or think outside of the box, because there will be problems. We are living in a crazy world. Always have a plan B and C ready, and if you are not flexible and fast enough, you can be in big trouble really fast. So, and now to end with the happy end. So after those really tough 2 years, I was working on different ventures, and also through the support from EO, I'm now fully back in the driver's seat. I'm a proud co-founder and CEO of Future Tree, and we're providing the first solution for companies that they can generate their own carbon credits through their own trees. And on top of this, they have a cash kickback on those trees. So bigger trees, what we are growing right now, more scalable, and also more impact-driven. So we combine all my experience, what I had in a new business, to make impactful profitability. Thank you.
Thank you. Please go ahead.
No?
Really,
No? Okay.
you're
Right.
amazing. Well done.
Okay, hello everyone, good afternoon. I'm not that used to speaking in public. I thought I would have a presentation, so I have a Schwickzettel that I can read. I want to share with you something and give you some context so that you can hang it on the right frame. So I'm the founder and investment manager at an investment management company here in Switzerland. And what I do is I invest in businesses that are on the stock exchange, so they have already had an IPO and some history, but they have to be businesses that are still run by the owners, so by the founders or the founder family. And I do it with my own capital and with the capital of entrepreneurs who maybe sold their business or had cash flows and want to invest in an entrepreneurial way. So all of it is in the public markets, okay? That just as a background. Also important to know for the story is that I don't charge any fees. So it's a partnership, and if I perform well for my clients or for my partners, I get to participate, or my company gets to participate in the profits, but there are no fees, right? So if I don't perform, no revenue. Okay. So I want to start with, in life and in entrepreneurship, there are times that fit what the American saying says, when it rains, it pours, right? So it's important to be ready for those. And boy, did it pour for me. For more than 3 years, it felt like hell that would never end. Okay? So now imagine a little bit the timeline. Let's go back to the fall of 2019. It started with a private tragedy. My father-in-law was diagnosed with cancer, I have one son, and he looked up to him very much, and my wife, of course, also. And I loved my father-in-law very much. So this was a big shock to us out of nowhere, and he was very young. He was 60, 62. So it started with that, and that was the diagnosis. Then, does anybody remember what happened at the beginning of 2020? COVID. Out of nowhere, COVID happened. And when you're an investor in the public markets, and I invest in a concentrated way, COVID hit globally. Stock markets fell 35% within 1 month, right? My portfolio went down even further, right? And so that was the second shock right afterwards. And because I'm invested in a concentrated way, I have some businesses that I'm invested in that are maybe 12, 15, 20% of the portfolio that I manage. Does anybody remember what happened in the summer of 2020?
Lockdown.
Wirecard? Ever heard of Wirecard? It was a fraud case. Yeah. I was not invested in Wirecard, but in the fall of 2020, another company that I was invested in was subject of a short seller attack that basically said everything is fraud, just like Wirecard. So that company went down almost 60%. Then in that fall, the same time, while I was analyzing and trying to get back to my clients and trying to calm them down, that I don't think this is a Wirecard, this is a very different situation. So all of that was going on. Unfortunately, we thought that my father-in-law would survive, but he passed away. And my wife, we are originally from Iran, so my wife had to go to Iran. I was there with my young son alone, trying to keep the business alive, trying to stop the clients or convince the clients to stay and not go. So for a couple of months, my wife was in Iran, taking care of the family. And I thought, okay, it can't get any worse than that. And then in that summer, I had also invested in some businesses that were in China, because I thought, they looked actually more attractive, and they were also cheaper than their American counterparts, so I had done that. About a quarter of my portfolio was invested in Chinese businesses, and China decided to crack down on the tech companies, right? Alibaba wanted to go public with Ant, right? The Chinese government stopped the IPO, and that was only the start, right? So everybody was spooked about investments in China, and now imagine a quarter of my portfolio is invested there, right? So I said, okay, let's continue, let's see what happens. Then Switzerland was forced to adjust the regulation to the EU for asset managers, for money managers, because the EU said, if you don't pick up your regulations and make it more cumbersome, basically, you will not have access to the EU. So FINMA, this is the financial authority here in Switzerland, suddenly introduced new laws that made it much more complex to run the business that I do, right? And it would mean that my cost base would go up by 800%, right? So now imagine you're investing like that. You only make revenues if you're profitable. Otherwise, you don't even make revenue. Forget about making a profit, and your cost base goes up eight times. Then Brexit happened. Yes. Now we're in December 2020. It's still 2020, right? Brexit happens, right? And I was like, okay, the market turmoil, I'm now used to that, can happen anytime. And my bank sends me an email. It was in the UK, where I had my clients. I had individual mandates that I was managing, individual portfolios. And they told me, you can manage clients from Switzerland, but the clients that you have outside of Switzerland, you cannot manage anymore with us. So they said we're going to have everybody's that is not in Switzerland has to go to the Ireland branch, and Ireland decided that I could not run these clients anymore, at least not at that bank. So And I had chosen a bank that had very good fees for my clients. And now suddenly I had to tell them, in addition to the poor performance, that we would have to switch to a bank that would charge much higher fees. So that was another blow. And then in 2021, July 2021, China came down. I don't know if anybody remembers, but they basically said that businesses that are in the education sector cannot be profitable, right? So that happened, and the investors worldwide basically panicked about China, right? And then on top of that, they said, people are getting addicted to gaming, so anything that has to do with gaming is going to be regulated very hard, right? So that was when Wall Street basically said China is uninvestable, right? Everybody just ran away, right? And so following that was 2022. My portfolio went down another 35%. And to those of you who know what it means to go minus 35, to recover, you have to do plus 50. Right? So this is this. And so my runway was also going away because I wasn't making any revenues and the cost base has gone up. So I was like, okay, can I keep this business running or not? So this is what I mean. That was more than 3 years of one hit after another, after another, after another. And I was running the business on my own. So just to share with you, sometimes things happen that you don't expect. Sometimes they happen in a row. Sometimes it takes longer, right? And looking back, I think the learnings that I would like to leave you with is when you're building your business, setup is really key. Like the way you design your business can mean really survival or going down, right? I had set up my business so that the cost structure was very low. I was working from home to begin with, and it went up eightfold, right? And it was much more, but if I had a bigger cost structure, and then it would have gone eightfold, and I would have been out of business, right? That's one. The other thing is I had made it only success-based. As I mentioned to you, I don't take any fees. I didn't then. So that, and I was also invested with my clients. So doing that, they were like, okay, we're in a partnership together, and even if it's not going well right now, maybe we give it some time, right? So that setup and the alignment, and you can do that with your partners in business. You can do it with your clients. You can do it with your suppliers, with whatever you do. But setting it up correctly gives you a lot of leeway. So that's one. Secondly, honesty pays. There's a saying that Buffett has, one of my idols. He says, it takes 20 years to build a reputation and 5 minutes to ruin it. Right? If you think about that, you do things differently. Right? So what helped me during that time, I had to basically tell my clients, I can't manage your portfolio. I have to find a solution, but I don't have a solution. And they said, you know what? Just tell us what to buy and sell. We'll do it. The bank doesn't let you do it. We will do it. So I created a WhatsApp group where I would tell them what to buy and sell and give prices and so forth. And they did that for 9 months to continue with me. Like, if they hadn't, told me that, then I would have been out of business. The third thing is persistence is key and pace, right? Every time I fell down, all these times, I was like, okay, is there a chance that I can get up, right? And when the answer was maybe, I was like, okay, it's worth trying and seeing if this storm will pass, right? So hang in there. If something like that happens, just be persistent and don't give up. And the last thing, the fourth thing that I want to leave you with is most things are nearly as bad as you think they are at the time, right? During those years, I won the most clients during this time, and it turned also to be the investments that I did during these 3 years were the best investments that I ever did, right? So when it looks the bleakest, You won't see it then, but there's going to be a silver lining if you can survive it, right? So most things are nearly as bad as you think they'll be, except regret. Regret is even worse.
Thank you so much. Here comes my story now. So please imagine a Panamanian woman and a Swiss guy from Bern fall in love in Panama and start a little company that we didn't even know what we were calling it. We were calling it a website where you can sort of sell your property and cars and jobs and consumer goods. Today, it's a digital marketplace. That's a fancy word we'll call it. And we're building this, just scaling it bootstrap, super cool, super chill in Panama. A few years later, we're like, oh, let's go to Costa Rica. We open up a little office in Costa Rica. We have 2 employees. Everything's going well. Users are using the website, and I'm automating everything because salaries is high. So I'm automating payments. I'm automating responses. These things 20 years ago, this is already, this was key for bootstrapping, right? And yeah, we're scaling. People are using the platform. We have all of the brokers, real estate brokers, the real estate developers in Panama logged into the website, posting all of their ads and all of their properties. We have all of the car dealerships, Mercedes, Toyota, Nissan, they're all putting all of their listings on the website. Huge HR companies. We're rolling amazing. And in fact, at some point, we even said, oh, let's try to live here in Switzerland. So we rented a little tiny apartment because our programmers were in Solothurn. And everything is scaling smoothly. I'm learning German at Migro, and then in the afternoon, I'm sort of trying to work on the website and respond to the emails and everything. Then, I guess greed kind of pokes his green big head, and we want more. We want to be in more countries. We want to have more clients. We want to have a nice office. I want a luxury car. We want all these things, so we start saying, we need to find more help. And somebody, I think in Amsterdam, a friend of mine says something like, oh, yes, there's somebody in Portugal that has a website like you guys, and he sold it. You guys should go speak to him. So I send my co-founder, go to Portugal, speak with this guy, and maybe we can see about money, investors, selling it, I don't know. And I didn't go to the meeting because my sister was here, so we just sent him. And when he comes back, he's like, he tell this guy how we're doing, how we're scaling organically, how we have all of these clients, how in Latin America, business and real estate is not like you guys think. It's flying, it's growing, it's an amazing market. And suddenly, like a month later, we have this person coming in from New York, who's going to be our competitor now. And he's flying in here to Bern, to like Cornhouse, this restaurant at the end of the street. And he's like, we want to buy your company, or we want to invest and we want 50% or 51% of your company because we want controlling stakes, and we're going to change the name and we're going to change the structure. And we were like, no. That was that. Cut to a few months later, this brand, they're relocated in Panama. This brand, which was a huge brand in other countries, in China, I think they weren't yet in Europe, they were in other countries, they decided to relocate offices right down the road from where we are. They hired a Harvard graduate and put him there, and this guy is hiring people from my company. He's taking my staff that was actually working for me, and even ex-staff that just said that they had our brand in their CV. And they are big. They're like big money. They're called OLX, and they had backing them up Tencent, which with that they had so much money that they are posting advertising everywhere. There's billboards, there's buses, there's TV, radio. They're doing interviews, and we're like little chill, this little Latina and my surfer ex, kind of trying to build this company. And then we see that we need to take it serious. This is where we went, okay, we need to actually go and find investors, because if not, our company is going to die. The 9 years that we have invested into building this, having all of these customers, it's going to just disappear completely. And our legacy and everything that we were working for, it was just going to go. And we had to go out and find investors. But finding investors all the way over there in Panama it's not a thing. I learned the lingo much later. I didn't know what a VC was. I didn't know what bootstrapping was or these terminologies. I just understood that I needed money. And I started doing a lot of PR. I remember I went and spoke with a banker in Zurich, Julius Barr, and he says, you need to do a lot of PR and talk about yourself. And we were pretty quiet, except for when we had this conversation with the guy in Portugal, where he understood that what we were building, and we were building this pretty cool company. We started doing a lot of PR and just saying how great we were, how amazing our app was, and just boasting, just hyping what our company was. And with that, luckily enough, an investor came in, but that was just the start of the next 5 years being in war with this other company. And we had to be better, we had to be faster, we had to be sexier, we had to be just the best. All of our clients these guys were starting to put their ads. We were finally charging to use our website because we had it for free, like a freemium, but they had it for free. So everybody was just going to them because their focus was weaken us and just destroy us. So they had enough money to survive without charging for their customers, but we needed it. And so for those 5 next years, almost until pandemic, I am just working my ass off. Just hiring people, trying to optimize everything, try to automate, just get the best of the best, going to conferences, learning, just sucking information out of everybody. My co-founder, who was my husband at the time, that relationship after those 5 years did not survive. After those 5 years, my brother suffered a death, and I was completely burned out. It's like a type of burnout that you don't even know it. And I entered my first EO forum meeting, like my first meeting that I was part of EO Panama first. And I was invited to this club, and I was like, I'll go, but I'm super exhausted and tired. I don't know if this is going to work out for me. And I go to the meeting, and there I found a space where I could talk about everything that was going on with me, everything that was inside, that I couldn't share with my co-founder, my ex-husband. And in fact, that very first day of my first meeting was the day of the funeral of my brother. And going into that meeting and being able to talk about that meant so much for me. And this is why this association, I've been part of it for 6 years. And since I joined, I've been in the board. I've been helping out a few of the programs. The first one was Student Entrepreneurs, where we help university students who have a little entrepreneurship. We help them get money, like free money, so that they can build their company. And then after pandemic, I moved to Switzerland 100%, and I was part of the Accelerator, which Tiano today is the Accelerator chair, and I was able to lead that program, which helps companies that are invoicing $250,000. We help them scale to $1 million with a 2-year program. And then today, I am EO Zurich president. I'm president of the chapter, and I'm supporting all of the entrepreneurs that are part of the chapter, including Pascal over there. And yeah, slowly I was able to exit that business about 3 years ago, and now I am starting slower. I'm starting a coffee import business. I'm trying not to think so huge and burn myself out again just in the name of greed and the name of ambitions. And I'm happy to say today that I'm keeping it strong. Keeping it strong, and I'm able to support other people with my journey. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Wendy. So we open up the space for questions, and I know we are not a super big group, but even though maybe you have a question in mind, a risky one, you can also help the others because this question could be important in 3 months for this person. So, are there any hot questions in the room? Thank you. So there are two things. I think one thing for sure are values. That's important. But also values can change if you are under pressure and if you need money. But I need just to have really a proper shareholder agreement in place that try to handle mostly everything. For example, in our story, the board of director was also one of the 3 of us, and he didn't show up the last year of the restructuring, and we didn't had this in place, and he has owning 33% of the company, so it was a really dilemma. And yeah, I think that that's really important also, and find those agreements on core values and also on those contracts together in the times when you start. Don't start 3 years and then, okay, let's try to find a contract, because also their values, interests can change. Maybe one guy wants to open up a barista store in Barcelona. Can happen.
Yeah, adding to that, I would also like to add one of my learnings, and it would be that you really need to invest a lot of time into those relationships that you have in your business. I think we talk a lot about your employees and potentially your business partner, but you have to have solid relationships with your providers. They also depend on you. So these companies that are also supporting your clients, it's important to have a relationship with your clients also. I think we take it for granted. If you can just have a coffee, or even your investors, like reach out. If you do have investors, reach out and have an ice cream with them, or just have a chocolate bar. I don't know, but these are also people, and you never know when you may need them. And there's a huge source of knowledge there, and I think it's super important to strengthen these relationships, all of them, because they're all part of your network. Yeah.
So I do have a question to all of you. During stressful situation, often you also start to develop like personal habits. So have you also developed the kind of personal habits like meditation or breath work or going for running outside? I mean, often you are in such kind of moment. You are often alone. And
Mm.
first you have to try to clear your mind a little bit, which is often not super easy. So what kind of tips you can share?
Well, for me, I do a lot of meditation, a lot of breath work. But I've learned that you can do meditation in many ways. So going for a nice walk without my phone has helped. Also, sometimes one of my meditations that I do is that I dance. I dance at home. I put on some nice music and I just dance and just kind of just release. And yes, breath work is an amazing option. I think I even did it this morning. I was a little stressed after a few calls, and I just shut everything off, sat down on the sofa, and I just breathed it in and out a few times, and it helps. What about you guys?
Yeah, for me, I mean, it's important also to step away, to how to gain perspective, because when you're in the thick of things, like everything looks like it's blowing up, everything makes it big. But if you step away and you have a little bit more distance, I think that has helped me make better decisions. And so that's being in nature, taking walks, listening to things. But also, for me, it was key in those times to distinguish between the things that I can control and the things that I can't, right? Because then you don't put too much pressure or unnecessary pressure on yourself, because like these things I cannot influence, right? but let me focus on the things that I can influence. So for me, it was like, okay, what can I influence, and have I really done my homework there or not, right? So to, have that grounded gave me peace of mind to say, I did what I could, and I read it and redid it, and now we'll see what happens.
So at the moment, I'm working in 3 different office spaces because I learned I don't want to work strategic and operative at home. So I need to make a cut there. And on the other hand, it's not sometimes super easy, but I don't work after 10 in the evening. And I also let out the phone outside of the door, the sleeping room.
Yeah, bedroom, yeah.
Yeah, so that helps a lot. And also one small thing is that when I'm super stressful phases, I need to find persons in my inner circle which gives me a good energy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
I think I'm risk averse. I just go into anything that I do. I feel it doesn't work for everybody, but for me it works when I am completely deeply immersed in whatever project that I'm doing. Like for now, I'm doing the coffee thing, and it's all I think about, and all I consume, and all I talk about, and it helps me.
For me, it takes a lot of frustration. So I was doing this as an employee, and I was unhappy how the industry works and how the incentives are and so forth, to the point that I had to veto decisions, and then I couldn't sleep. So I decided, it's time. If I think there's a better way, I need to do it. And the other thing is, when you start out of a business, especially where trust is, people come to you that trust you, right? So I hesitated. I was like, am I going to manage the money of my best friends? I know their wives and children and so forth. And what helped me was to think about what they would do if they wouldn't do it with me. I saw what they're doing. I was like, okay, I think I can add value even if I make mistakes. So I think it's those things like when you don't see any alternative that pushes you in that direction.
Yeah, for me it's similar like with Wendy. So if I do something, I do it 150%. But my grandfather always said, you need to touch the fire by yourself, that you know how hot it is. And like you heard before, so I created a big fire and I burned myself massively. So I built more wisely. But even though I get really challenged when somebody said, hey, that's not possible. So then I see this as an opportunity and say, hey, give me some months and I show you how.
I love it when they tell you you can't do it.
Yeah. Cool. So just everybody reminds the 2 questions. So I would love that you can go in groups of 2 or 3 and just quickly share one of your moments. And I'm sure everybody will learn something from it. And thank you so much for being here and not in the sun. And if you have any questions to EO, let us know. Thank you. Okay, one is, what was your deepest personal low in private life? Or one of them? And the other one was, what was your hardest moment in business? If you want, you can also group the 3 of you, if you want.
Wendy?
Yes.
Who was that? Who from Oleg?
Hey, quit.